Hello, welcome back to another Manga Talks video. It's been a while. I have been sick, so I haven't posted for and record for like more than a month now. So yeah, welcome back. There's a lot of books to catch up on. So today I'll be going through a bunch of them. So a combination of hauls and reads as well. But the very first thing that I want to show, right when I got sick pretty much, was this book here. So I finally was able to receive this. This came in the mail and I was very excited. So this is called The Devil's Blood Dances by Yanofuji Kachisuke. In a past video I did mention this. So this is a Mandarake reprint of course, a Hibari Comics horror work. And when I mentioned it in a previous video, this was the one where you could buy like the 4 variant covers. So this one's the black one that I got. I think there was like a red one and then gray one. One of them didn't have this part, like I think maybe the gray one had like this section cut out. Maybe it was just to replicate one of the printing errors that came out when this book was released. But I actually have read this book and I do want to make a separate video going through this. But genuinely, this is one of my favorite Hibari reads this year. It's one of my favorite Hibari books that I own so far. Not that I own many, but honestly, like very enjoyable, very entertaining read. If you don't know the premise of this, it's about a girl who has this sort of illness where every animal she sees for some reason has a human face on it, and they're trying to attack her. And the artwork is amazing. It feels, honestly, even compared to some other Hibari stuff, still feels very distinct. Like it's a very bold style. I'm not sure how to really phrase it properly. Now think about it. Did I show this book off in a previous video? I don't even remember. It's been a long time since I've recorded. But this is another example, another animal. This is a cat this time that comes up and she sees it with a human face. But on the next page, she finally retaliates. And so that's all I'll give for this book at this very moment. So in the future, I do want to make a separate video just going through this, but very, very enjoyable read. And also it's interesting because at the end, got some music I believe the author had created. Yes. So interesting stuff. Very, very excited for this one. One of my favorite horror reads this year so far. So look forward to that video whenever that comes out. But yeah, for me, I've just been sick for a while. I couldn't record because of my throat, so I was coughing a lot. And while I was away, a lot of books started to build up in terms of the hauls and also the reads as well. So this next set of books here I wanted to talk about was my haul from Cockatoo Comics. So I did a trade-in of some manga and some art books and stuff, and this is what I picked up from those. So first thing I want to go through is this one here. So this is Eko Eko Azarak Reborn. So if you aren't familiar with the name, you might recognize it as the Shinichi Koga series. I think it was 19, 20 something volumes in total. A very long one, but this is like a remake or a spin-off of the original. So I spotted this. I was very surprised to see this in store, so I was like, okay, wanted to pick this up. And I personally, I don't think I'll read this until I read the original. I actually want to someday get the full set of Eko Eko Azarak, because so far from what I've read from Shinichi Koga, who was published in Smudge, loved it. Let me actually get the Smudge book now. So Smudge had released Mansek in English, one of my favorite covers of Smudge actually, and I really, really enjoyed this one. I have talked about this in the past, one of my videos. Loved it. And so Shinichi Koga, he was probably best known for Eko Eko Azarak because it was also adapted into like a live action, and it also got like this sort of half animated type thing. I believe I have that video actually in the resources playlist that I have on my channel, so you could check that out for that. But yeah, it's I always plan to get the original Eko Eko Azarak, but again, it's like 20 something volumes, so it's an expensive thing, and probably hard to get because it was published so long ago. But this one I'll save for when I eventually do finish the original. But very interesting to have this, and I just want to give it a go. I think it's maybe 5 or 6 volumes in total, and this was very recent too. Came out in 2020, so this is the first volume for that. But yeah, that was one of the books that I got from the haul. And then we also have 2 comics here, Prokaryote Season by Leo Fox, and then Men I Trust by Tommi Parish. So this one I actually have read now. Prokaryote Season was a very enjoyable read. The art style was absolutely amazing. So this is my first book from Leo Fox. So just to give some background, one second. Okay, so this came out in 2023. So Leo Fox is a UK-based artist. They're transmasculine, and this is a story that is mainly centered on like unrequited love and also obsession. A really big part of it is obsession. But I had never really known about them before. I only knew of Silver Sprocket, who is the publisher for this book, and they have released a couple of other books, but this one here is absolutely amazing, because if you flip over and take a look inside, the art style is so good. It's very fluid. The one thing I'll say while I was reading through all of this is that every single page, like the line work is very, you don't really have a lot of straight lines. You have a lot of flowy lines everywhere, and when I was reading this, I liked to imagine, like, it kind of animated in my head, like the background would always be kind of moving around, rippling. I think that's a good way to describe it. Like, yeah, it was an amazing experience reading the whole thing. And this, yeah, because it was only published in 2023, I mean, at the time I don't really follow comics too much in terms of releases, and so, and in total anyways, comics are a smaller proportion of what I read and buy, but slowly I am collecting more and more, getting more interested in it, and I loved this one so much. Like, the art style, and it felt really unique. Sometimes it reminded me of, you know, the stuff that you would see Sasaki Maki do. I want to find an example of that, actually. Something like this, where Sasaki Maki sometimes does those random sequence panels around in his works. Just a thing that I was reminded of, but it's an extremely dynamic work. The story itself was, I would say, like, kind of straightforward. A lot of it is dialogue based, and there is a lot of random things happening. Like, we have just an introduction to some of the characters. So we follow Sydney and Lorelei. Essentially, Sydney has kind of like an unrequited love with Lorelei, but everyone is kind of quite broken in this story. We also have Trip, who is the boyfriend of Lorelei, the partner, and Starman, who, yeah, he is the one that grants Sydney a dangerous wish when it comes to their relationship in the story. So amazing stuff. Love the cover. I believe I have seen 2 other books by Leo Fox. We'll look to get them sometime in the future. Probably not right now, but sometime in the long term, because, yeah, great first impression. I really enjoyed it, and I do recommend, if you want a story about obsession and a book that is very fluid and dynamic in its art style. So yeah, that was Prokaryote Season. And the next book I have here is Men I Trust by Tommi Parish, which I haven't read yet. Huge book, by the way, just as a comparison. Tankobon size. Very, very big. Hardcover book as well. So I actually do have a book by Tommi Parish in my collection. I got it from last year's Scamp, so the Sydney Comics Arts Marketplace. But I still haven't read that yet, as is very common with a lot of the books in my collection. But Tommi Parish is, so they're Australian. So they're an Australian artist, but they're currently living in Western Massachusetts. So this is a huge book. I actually don't even know what this is about. So here is the synopsis for this. And yeah, so they are a trans artist as well. And if you flip over the book, the whole book is in color, and I really love the character designs of Parish. Actually, sometimes it's just like the one thing that I think of sometimes that it reminds me of is like Yan Kong, who is a Chinese artist. I do have a book also from Yan Kong. I think I must have also bought it from Scam last year, and I feel like I did show it off in a video. Hopefully I have. But yeah, huge book. Excited to get into this. I don't know actually which one I would want to read first. I've got this book and then another one by Tommi Parish, but maybe this one. This looks very interesting. But yeah, I think the character designs and the facial expressions are the main point for me. So yeah, that is Men I Trust by Tommi Parish. Huge book. Let's move on to the next book. So I've got the next set of books here. They're all horror related, and they are related to the previous books actually, because those books that I traded in at Cockatoo Comics for like the Eko Eko Azarak, Tommi Parish and all that, they were some of them were a lot of the like modern horror manga, which I now honestly I think I'm kind of out of it. I don't think I want to pick up any more modern horror manga, and I'll explain why. So, and I feel like I've talked about this in previous anyways. But this one, these are Junji Ito books, and the reason why I brought these out is because I finally finished the entire collection of Junji Ito, like reading it all. So this is the I guess the masterpiece collection of Junji Ito. There was like 12 books in total. It took me like, well, I've had them on my shelves for probably 3 years now, but yeah, it took me that many years to complete. Enjoyed it, you know, but I think now, like, Junji Ito isn't a part of this this group, by the way. It's just that I wanted to talk about how, yeah, I finally finished all this stuff. There's probably some short stories here and there that I've missed, but I think this is the time where I can declare that I'm no longer going to be getting any more Junji Ito books. I think just because I've read so much from him that I am full. I think I'm pretty satisfied. I don't. He's released a couple of other stuff, but I don't think I'm too curious right now, at least, to continue exploring any of his newer works. Maybe if there is something that looks like very interesting, is unique or stand out, I might go for it. But as of now, my Junji Ito appetite has been satisfied and is full. Enjoyed it. You know, Junji Ito is my kind of like the building blocks of my taste, starting off reading manga and specifically horror manga. But now that I've read everything, I think I'm done with collecting Junji Ito. Ups and downs for sure, you know, could be like 50-50 a lot of times, but yeah. So moving on to some other books that I didn't like at all. So these ones I actually do want to get rid of. These are all kind of modern horror works. So this one here is actually published in English. I think right now there's probably like 10 volumes of this. So this one is called Grim Night Tales, and it is a manga told in the style of like every chapter being a horror story that is told and narrated by this girl in a hotel room. And it's in the style where every chapter, of course, we get the horror story, but we also get a little reveal as to the lore and the plot relating to this narrator, as you can see here. And yeah, I read through this first volume. I bought this quite a while ago, probably a year or more ago, and I don't know, my tastes have changed. I did not enjoy this at all. From the first volume, I actually read through the first volume, and I think personally that it's pretty standard, like very stock standard horror works. Each of these standalone stories that are told are not as shocking, because I don't know what it is. Maybe I've read too much horror, but I feel like I'm either desensitized or just used to it. But yeah, just from my opinion, I think it's a bit too standard and expected to really enjoy personally. So yeah, that is one of the books that I did not enjoy. I do want to trade away. This is also another one, but there's a bit more backstory behind this. So this book, what is the name of this again? It's The Past Comes to Kill, a collection of horror short stories by Nokuto Koike. And I have actually read a couple of this mangaka's works years and years ago when they had Killing Morph, Satsuriku Morph. That's there's another horror work by them that I read very early on into my horror reading journey and also manga reading journey in general, probably like 7 years ago or something. I enjoyed it because it was so campy. And so I was kind of curious to see what other stuff that they've done. And this book was out in 2022, so it's somewhat recent. And I think it's the same thing. It's pretty stock standard stuff, unfortunately. The first story, for example, is about a girl who visits her grandpa's hometown and finds that there's this masked killer. Pretty boring mask design, honestly. And yeah, she tries to escape, but there's a twist at the end because who could this masked killer be? You can probably guess, to be honest. The one thing I did find very well done though is the sequence where she's running away, because it is pretty funny at times, like the facial expressions and stuff. But yeah, no, honestly, there's nothing much for me to say about this collection. This story is about kind of a world where there's these punishers that go after people who have started this so-called butterfly effect. So this woman gave someone like a nickname in high school that eventually caused his death, and the officer's job is to go to the root cause of that butterfly effect and kill them. So yeah, I don't know, not my thing. Great cover though. And then last one here, I didn't actually even finish this volume because I think I just gave up. This was also announced to be released in English. I don't think it's out yet. I don't know what the English title is, but I think this translates to something like, let me tell you the truth, or let's talk about the truth, something like that. I couldn't even get past, I think I finished the first chapter. I don't know, but the art style's a little bit different actually. It's a lot more cuter, like stylistic, but yeah, there was nothing really about this book, unfortunately, that made me want to keep reading it, and it did, in my mind, kind of blur into these other books. So I do also want to get rid of this as well. So yeah, briefly wanted to talk about that. And now I think my horror reading, my horror appetite will be, I wouldn't say limited to, but I'm going to be focusing more on collecting and reading, obviously, Hibari stuff, Lemon Comics, you know, stuff that Mandarake puts out. The Kashihon Mandarake rental, Strange Tales series that I did a video on too. That's another thing I've been collecting, and I do want to make a video on it, but no plans right now. I still have to gather everything because there's so many books. But yeah, I think those will be, that is currently what my horror tastes are right now. And of course, Smudge, anything that Smudge puts out, because of course they do license and translate stuff from Hibari and so on. But yeah, that is my current appetite of horror manga. So I think that will be the end. Nope, that is not the end. I forgot there's another section briefly that I want to talk about that I've really been enjoying. I don't have the actual book because the book that I'm talking about only has 2 chapters right now. It is currently serializing, and the books I have here are Girl's Last Tour by Tsukumizu, one of my favorite manga of all time, and it's because the manga I'm talking about is Fragments of the Layered City, but also by Tsukumizu as well. And as of right now, Fragments of the Layered City has 2 chapters that are out. I've read both of them, and I have fallen in love with Tsukumizu all over again. So if you don't know about the new work, it is, I'm not sure if it's actually canon, like it's in the same world as Girls Last Tour, but it's supposed to be either the actual prequel of everything that happens here or like a spiritual thing. I'm not actually sure, but I think it was marketed to be like the prequel, so what happens in the world before this post-apocalyptic setting of Girls Last Tour. And just from the first 2 chapters alone, immediately sold. I forgot how good, I mean, I always knew how good Tsukumizu's artwork and story writing is, but it's just been so long since I have read Girls Last Tour, and I haven't read Shimeji Stimulation fully. I think only a couple chapters. But it does make me want to read that now, and I will be definitely buying the tankobon when it releases. I think it is monthly chapters right now, so probably when the chapter count reaches like 5 or 6, they'll put out a tankobon. But I highly recommend Girls Last Tour. It's very unique. I think one of my favorite post-apocalyptic stories, because there's such a good contrast between this slice of life that is calm and quiet, but also you have this backdrop of humanity who has destroyed the world, and there is pretty much no hope. But we follow 2 girls as they try to navigate, and we see how their daily lives fit into this mess of a world. But very depressing, I will say, for both Girls Last Tour and also Layered City as well right now. It's very emotional, and Tsukumizu has a specific style where he can leverage a lot of that, even in just like 1 chapter. It's amazing. But yeah, I just briefly wanted to mention that, and I'm very excited for it when it comes out. So I think that will be the end of today's video. Went through a couple of various things, and yeah, so I was sick for a while, finally back. Hope to be making videos more frequently because I have a backlog of books that I want to show off. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.